Have you ever hated something so much that it felt like the whole world was mocking you for it? For Thomas Crawford, that thing was Halloween. But this year, Halloween decided to hate him back. What started as an ordinary night of annoyance turned into a nightmare he'd never escape. Because when the invitation arrived, the real horror began. The night I truly disliked the most was Halloween. I couldn't stand seeing little kids running down the street in silly costumes. I also found it frustrating how people would practically worship candy for an entire night when it could be purchased from the store any day of the year. It was nauseating. While my neighbors were putting up fake cobwebs and hanging cute pumpkin string lights, I usually stayed inside my house. I would sit in my living room, watching TV or reading an engrossing book, pretending that the Halloween themed world outside didn't exist. As the world outside became chaotic, with trick or treating and scaring themselves with fake decorations, I felt safe at home. Suddenly, my doorbell rang, and I muttered under my breath. I had turned off my porch light. Didn't those kids understand what that meant? I tossed my book onto the couch, stood up, and marched to the front door, ready to tell those costumed children a piece of my mind. When I opened the door, I was prepared to shout, but I found no one there, prompting another growl from me. Great. Ding dong ditching, I muttered. I was about to slam the door, thinking it might scare off the little pranksters, when I noticed something. On my welcome mat lay a letter in a sleek black envelope. I looked around to ensure no one was lurking nearby, wondering if this was some Halloween prank. I carefully picked up the letter and walked back inside, closing the door behind me. In better light, I examined the mysterious item. I could see the black envelope clearly, but it lacked a return address. It simply had my name written on it in bold white marker. Despite my urge to tear it in half, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to open it. That's the frustrating aspect of being human. When your brain urges you to do something you don't want to, you often end up doing it anyway. I ripped open the envelope and pulled out a heavy cardstock invitation, surprised by what it said. Dear Thomas Crawford, you have been cordially invited to an exclusive Halloween party at Blackwood Manor. This year, things will be very different, and the party will begin upon your arrival. I read the letter again and noticed it lacked a date or time. It was just a random note sent to me. Blackwood Manor was an old, abandoned estate on the outskirts of town. Everyone in the neighborhood claimed it was cursed, haunted, or simply too old to bother with. I never believed in such nonsense. I knew Blackwood Manor was just a dilapidated place I passed on my way to work, wondering when someone would finally tear it down. Yet a shiver, more one of annoyance than dread, ran down my spine, and I dropped the letter to the ground. This had to be a prank, and I knew who was behind it. My foolish friend Mark. He was aware of how much I loathed Halloween, and now he was pulling a prank to see how I would react. I considered ignoring the letter altogether, but that little spark of curiosity in my brain urged me otherwise. Besides, if this was Mark's Halloween prank, I could give him a piece of my mind. Without another thought, I grabbed my keys, headed out to the driveway, and got into my car, setting off for Blackwood Manor. The drive to the manor felt just as ominous as the letter, but fortunately, I had traveled this road many times before on my way to work, just never at night. The trees appeared like skeletons clawing at my car, resembling monsters. The road felt more uncomfortable than usual, Was I going the wrong way, or was this just the Halloween spirit messing with my mind? Soon, I arrived at my destination. Stepping out of the car, the massive silhouette of Blackwood Manor loomed against the night sky like something out of a horror movie. The windows stared back at me like vacant eyes. I looked around and saw no other cars or lights. Only a single flickering jack-o'-lantern sat on the porch, casting large shadows and making the place even creepier than it already was. I realized Mark was going overboard with this prank, and I was determined to let him know when I confronted him and anyone else involved. As I walked up the porch, I noticed a massive oak door slightly ajar. Nervously, I pushed it open, and it groaned loudly on its ancient hinges. I stepped into the cavernous, dust-covered foyer. The air felt thick and cold, filled with the scent of mold and forgotten things. Moonlight streamed through a stained glass window above the grand staircase, painting the decaying floor in sickly colors that made me feel nauseous.